Space has truly earned its moniker as the final frontier, stretching in all directions with rules of gravity and physics that do not apply on Earth. The possibilities for what might lie beyond our comprehension are endless. Some things that occur are so strange that it seems that the only explanation is one that involves aliens and other life forms. But most are none other than marvels of science that have never been seen on our small planet. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at instances of space marvels so unexpected that they even surprised scientists. Scientists find the source of mysterious pulses being blasted towards Earth. Since 2014, scientists have pondered the odd and unexplained gamma rays that we have been receiving here on Earth, with them being repeatedly blasted in our direction. However, scientists have found the spot these gamma rays have been coming from. These gamma ray pulses that we have been receiving here on Earth have been, for years, a topic of great scientific research, with astronomers finally tracking this previously unexplained occurrence down to a celestial body referred to as PSR J20395617. To those of us who are not quite up to date with celestial objects, PSR J20395617 is a neutron star, spinning rapidly on its axis. A neutron star is typically very small, with a radius nearing, though usually not exceeding, 30 kilometers. These neutron stars also hold an incredibly high density made of neutrons in close proximity to one another. Our current scientific understanding of neutron stars is that they are formed after the gravitational collapse of a supernova, when a black hole is not made due to the smaller size of the object. Whilst some of the initial hypotheses as to what this object firing gamma rays is did include a neutron star, orbiting quickly found another star, other possibilities have also been in discussion. Furthermore, until now there was no proof, never mind substantial concrete evidence, that this was indeed the case. Scientists have now definitively concluded that the neutron star that has been firing gamma pulses is part of a binary system, meaning that this neutron star is gravitationally bound to one other star. In this instance, PSR J20395617 orbits a star that is an estimated 1/6 the size of the Sun within our own solar system. This orbital pattern, combined with the 377 rotations per second, has been concluded to force a gradual, steady evaporation of the neutron star. This evaporation seems to have released gamma rays that have been detected through the space telescopes we have put into space from Earth. Whilst this phenomenon had sparked interest worldwide, the research team was led by a group of scientists working at the University of Manchester. One of the largest aids in this research, however, was the crucial involvement of the Einstein at Home program. This was a volunteered study where researchers were given access to the computer power of PCs that had been volunteered for usage. In its essence, this means that researchers, if the computer were not in use, could gain extra power. This project was aided by thousands of civilians who may not have possibly comprehended what they were helping to complete. With one computer, this data analysis would have taken over 500 years. The aid from people's homes allowed the same results to be conducted in only 2 months. The community spirit truly is tangible, as we close the book on a scientific mystery that has been puzzling astronomers since 2014. NASA's $1 billion Jupiter probe sent back stunning new photos of Jupiter. When you think of the fact that we're investigating and exploring far-off places in space, how far away do you think it is? 10 million miles? 20? Try 563 million miles. This gaseous giant hasn't been one for close-up photos until pretty recently. Scientists sent a probe to Jupiter in 2015, and it will continue to orbit until at least July of 2021. Its main goal is to map the planet's magnetic and gravitational fields. But there are some pretty incredible bonuses to this. We get to see stunning photos as a result. Juno, the aircraft, flies over Jupiter's cloud tops at speeds 75 times as fast as a bullet. Flyovers, called perihovies, happen once every 54 days. Each time this is repeated, the Juno cam captures incredible photos of the planet, and this information is bounced back to Earth, where people around the world can download the stunning full-color photos. Its gas-swirled clouds are vivid and forever changing, making no two photos alike. This is all a new process, Juno being only the second long-term exploration probe after the Galileo spacecraft, which orbited the planet from 1995 to 2003. Space.com states that Juno is one of NASA's 3 New Frontiers probes. The others are New Horizons, which flew by Pluto in 2015, and OSIRIS-REx, which is expected to fly to asteroid 101955 Bennu in 2020 to collect a sample and return it to Earth. New Frontiers was a program NASA created in 2003 for medium-sized missions that are capped at $1 billion in development and launch costs each. The Curiosity rover, by contrast, cost about $2.5 billion. It also should be noted that Juno is different because it runs on solar power. The same publication writes that Juno launched from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station on August 5, 2011. While 8 other spacecraft have flown in Jupiter's neighborhood in decades past, part of what makes Juno stand apart is its ability to generate solar power from Jupiter's neighborhood. The other spacecraft relied on nuclear power. This aircraft is accomplishing incredible discoveries and sending us back some beautiful photos while we wait. Mars is humming. The InSight rover landed on Mars in November 2018, landing near the equator of the Red Planet. NASA's robot has been measuring the planet's seismic activity and conducting tests on its geographic qualities. Its mission is to understand and learn about the geology of rocky planets to observe their evolution and gain some more understanding about Earth's history and potential future. Scientists cannot get enough data on rocky planets just from Earth. They need to gather information from others. InSight landed in the Elysium Planitia, a small crater located on a volcanic plain. This location is often caught in wind and dust storms. The data it has gathered so far suggests that the seismic activity and magnetic field on Mars are much stronger than the researchers estimated, about 10 times more. While collecting data, the rover recorded a strange humming sound that researchers and experts have not been able to concretely identify the cause of. They have their speculations, though, and suggest it is caused by both seismic movement below the surface as well as the wind above it. When combined together, these two forces create a strange sound. The hum actually cannot be heard by humans. It falls outside our frequency range but gets picked up on readings by the robot and its machines. So any future human visitors will not be able to hear Mars humming. The researchers are excited at finding so many similarities between Mars and Earth. The infrasound, sound we can't hear, and the atmospheric turbulence are encouraging to their studies on finding out Mars's history and seeing what its timeline looks like compared to ours. Interestingly enough, Earth also has a faint infrasound humming to it. There have been reports of a hum that have been a hot debate for many years, even outside the astronomy community. Scientists can't really explain it, but many people try to blame it for certain diseases and health issues. There have been many locations across Earth that have complained of some sort of noise pollution and mysterious humming sounds. Now, InSight has identified a similar one on Mars. The robot was using a seismometer to measure the quakes underneath the planet. Since its first reading, it has measured over 400 quakes. It even managed to find fault lines on Mars, which confirms the constant seismic activity found. A few of the quakes have registered at 3 to 4 magnitudes, but most of them were so small that the machines and scientists were unable to detect their origin. Researchers also found that there are more quakes on Mars when the planet gets cold. When it cools down, it contracts, which forces the brittle layers near the surface to break in a way to accommodate their positioning. This breaking is causing stress on the surface that results in quakes. there are still many mysteries that the InSight researchers are excited about delving into, like how they recorded some type of activity at Mars's depth. They believe there might even be hot magma still at its core. They will continue to measure the activity and gather as much knowledge about Mars's geological history as possible. Moon rock given to Holland by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin turns out to be fake. In 2009, the Dutch National Museum, Rijksmuseum, had a rather bashful announcement to make, with the disappointing revelation that the beloved moon rock is not authentic. While the museum is most well known for fine art exhibitions, one particularly exciting exhibition is Fly Me to the Moon. Front and centre in this space-themed piece was what we all thought to be a rock from the moon. This exhibit was first revealed to the public in 2006. The moon rock was intended to symbolize the exploration of faraway, distant places, possible colonization, and bringing home treasures. The thought, love, and excitement represented with this exhibit made the unfortunate reveal of the truth that much more devastating. Originally, the rock was gifted to Willem Dries Jr. in 1969 from the US ambassador to the Netherlands. This gift shortly follows the moon landing. The supposed moon rock was presented from J. William Middendorf II in the midst of a meeting with the famous trio from aboard Apollo 11, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. When Dries unfortunately passed away in 1998, the rock was donated to the Rijksmuseum, a permanent home. A museum spokeswoman explained that, since the rock had come from the personal possession of the Prime Minister, no one had thought to consider checking the authenticity, and simply approved the ownership via a phone call with NASA. Apparently, according to the Rijksmuseum, the once-believed moon rock had been insured at an estimated $500,000, when in reality the value is, at a maximum, worth $70. Mr. Middendorf, former US ambassador, attempted to recount the tale, but could not specifically remember how the US State Department acquired the rock at all. It is established and well known that in the 1970s, NASA shared lunar rocks with 100 countries. A space expert, however, expressed his shock that the material was already part of an exhibition in just 2006, and so further research began to take place. The Free University of Amsterdam's researchers jumped on the case, extensively testing and investigating the genuine history of this rock. Ultimately, the tests proved the rock was not authentic, and this lunar adventure keepsake was instead some petrified wood. So far, no one has been able to offer an explanation as to how this scenario could occur. Despite tests proving it's not a moon rock, the curators at Rijksmuseum intend to keep it anyway, as a curiosity item, a souvenir to remember this unusual tale, and to keep it home where it belongs. Phobos monolith. You may remember news of a mysterious monolith that had been sitting in the Utah desert back for 4 years in 2020. But did you know that there are dozens, if not hundreds of monoliths scattered across the solar system, and one particular monolith, the Phobos monolith, is 300 feet in height. The Phobos monolith sits on the moon Phobos, which belongs to the rocky desert planet of Mars. But Phobos is not alone, as Mars also has a monolith to its name, appropriately titled the Mars monolith. The Mars monolith is a rectangular object that was identified on Mars's surface. Orbit imagery taken from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter at around 180 miles away shows that the Mars monolith sits at the bottom of a cliff, which scientists believe it likely fell from. While Mars might have its own monolith, the monolith that belongs to the moon Phobos is significant due to its sheer size. According to scientists, the Phobos monolith is much larger than the monolith in Utah that sent the media in a spin. In fact, data suggests that the Phobos monolith is 279 feet in width and 300 feet in height. The Phobos monolith mystery is amplified by the fact that Phobos is completely barren. Whilst Mars has an atmosphere and a weather system, Phobos sits silently in space, with its solitary monolith pointing up towards the heavens. What's more is that Phobos is tiny compared to the grand scale of the universe, making the sight of something so massive atop of a small celestial body even more creepy. The effects of erosion are common for strange discoveries on other planets. Mars itself has been the subject of many strange discoveries, such as the Mars Face, the Mars Pyramid, and even the levitating spoon. These rock formations are usually a result of our perspective from Earth, as well as millions of years of rock degradation. While interesting to many, Phobos has yet to receive any significant research or space exploration. Optech and the Mars Institute have proposed that the site of the monolith be investigated. This mission is referred to as PRIME, fully known as Phobos Reconnaissance and International Mars Exploration. The proposed mission would see a lander touch down on the surface of the lonely moon to take samples of the moon's geology. Currently, the PRIME mission is not set to go ahead, and talks of funding are next to non-existent. However, famed second man on the moon, Buzz Aldrin, has previously supported the idea of a mission to Phobos, so there might be a chance in the future. In fact, when Aldrin discussed the idea of sending a mission to Phobos, he said, "When people find out about that, they are going to say, 'Who put that there? Who put that there?'" Mars Monolith. While we touched on the Mars monolith in the previous entry, it's also deserving of its own. The discovery of the Mars monolith came from the same stream of images taken by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter over a decade ago. The image of the monolith depicts a seemingly massive rectangular structure jutting out from the planet's surface. The monolith has had waves of attention since its discovery by the high-rise camera on board the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. Because of this, scientists regularly speak on the matter of the Mars monolith, as well as other similar structures found on Mars and elsewhere in the solar system. Jonathan Hill, a researcher and mission planner at the Mars Spaceflight Facility at Arizona State University, is tasked with processing a large chunk of NASA Mars mission imagery. Hill states that in his opinion, the object is most likely a peculiar shaped rock. Speaking on the matter, Hill said, "When your resolution is too low to fully resolve an object, it tends to look rectangular because the pixels in the image are squares. Any curve will look like a series of straight lines if you reduce your resolution enough. This would explain the seemingly large number of monoliths found in the solar system. This visual illusion is a side effect of our distance from things in outer space. The high-rise camera is able to take photographs at a resolution of 1 foot per pixel. While that might be useful for a large number of research purposes, it does mean that smaller objects can lose focus and detail. This also explains why the height of the monolith appears to be so large in the photos taken by NASA. The photo is taken during a time where the sun is at a low angle, which effectively stretches the rock's shadow much further than other times of the day. This results in the monolith's height appearing much larger than it actually might be. To Hill, the location of the Mars monolith also suggests that it is nothing more than a boulder. He argues that it makes little sense for a being or beings to create such an object just to leave it in a location it would eventually fall. Speaking on the intentions of aliens, Hill says, "If I was going to build a monolith somewhere, that's the last place I would put it. The debris falling from the cliff would cover it up pretty quickly on geologic timescales." Cryovolcanoes on Ceres. In the main asteroid belt that sits between Mars and Jupiter lies Ceres, the largest of the asteroids. Ceres, first discovered in 1801 by Giuseppe Piazzi, was originally classified as a planet. This was until other large objects were discovered in the same neighborhood as Ceres. Astrologists at the time realized they were looking at a new type of object in space, so the term asteroid, meaning star-like, was first coined to describe these new objects. In the 1860s, it was widely accepted that these large asteroids had major differences to the planets we know, but a specific definition of planet was never formulated. At the 2006 Pluto debate, it was discussed the specific criteria that had to be met in order for an object to be considered a planet. Had it not been for a modification to this criteria stating the planet must have cleared the neighborhood around its orbit, Ceres would today be the 5th planet from the Sun. Obviously, due to the asteroid belt it lies within, Ceres is not classified as a planet but a dwarf planet and an asteroid simultaneously. Now, whilst the controversy surrounding Ceres' classification is certainly interesting, that's not what we're going to discuss today. Ceres itself is home to something much more fascinating. Since early 2015, NASA's Dawn spacecraft has orbited the icy world of Ceres, examining its surface closely. It wasn't until quite a few months had passed that the Dawn would observe something so fascinating but so bizarre at the same time. It was a 13,000-foot tall mound closely resembling what we know as a volcano. Scientists named it Ahuna Mons. In 2016, it was confirmed that Ahuna Mons was indeed a volcano, but not your average volcano, a cryovolcano. A cryovolcano is, as you can imagine, a volcano, but with a twist. Instead of releasing molten rock or lava like the volcanoes we have on Earth, a cryovolcano erupts water, methane, or ammonia. The water and other gases released often turn into a solid form once exposed to the low temperature surrounding the volcano, hence the more colloquial name ice volcanoes. These eruptions are referred to as cryomagma or cryolava. During eruption, they are liquid but are also released as a vapor. Cryovolcanoes are thought to be able to form on moons and asteroids that used to have an abundance of water. The reason Ahuna Mons erupts water and other substances rather than magma is simple. The temperatures on Ceres are simply too cold to melt rock, but warm enough that ice can melt. Ahuna Mons was only able to be understood more when scientists examined mineral salt, likely the product of a cryovolcanic eruption, inside the Okator crater. Found it had origins in Ahuna Mons, which in turn relates both fascinating natural structures. The Okator crater is 57 miles across and as deep as Ahuna Mons is high. The large impact that tore the giant Okator crater into the surface of the dwarf planet must have originally started everything and triggered the later cryovolcanic activity, says Andreas Nathus, framing camera lead investigator for Max Planck. After this event, rock around the planet reshuffled and moved up towards the surface. The change in pressure allowed water and dissolved gases to escape that would eventually form a volcano. It's also suggested that many smaller explosions around the dwarf planet caused the cryovolcanism rather than one major event. Cryovolcanism isn't exclusive to Ceres though, as it has been spotted on Enceladus, one of Saturn's moons, Europa, a moon of Jupiter, and Triton, Neptune's largest moon. Cryovolcanoes are a fascinating insight into the wonders of the universe and things we couldn't even imagine being possible. Scientists think they have detected a collision between a black hole and a neutron star. In the US and Italy, gravitational wave detectors picked up on space-time ripples passing through Earth, courtesy of a collision between a black hole and a neutron star. To put things into perspective, the mass of an entire sun is squeezed by gravity into a ball the size of a city. It may take you by surprise that the collision didn't produce any detectable light, considering the severity of the situation. To grasp a greater understanding of the situation, we will have to delve into what black holes and neutron stars are. They are corpses of stars that are the result of calamitous explosions. These explosions are known as supernovas, which occur when a white dwarf is provoked into a runaway nuclear fusion or when a massive star is in its last evolutionary stages. Supernovas are actually fascinating, as these eruptions can make a star briefly outshine all of the other stars in its galaxy. After a star has undergone supernova, the core of its remains collapses under the strength of its own gravitational pull. What happens next is what decides what the remnant will become. A smaller core forms a neutron star. A larger core forms a black hole. Gravitational waves are disturbances in the curvature of space-time that create a ripple effect propelled from accelerated masses. This causes waves to emit outwards at speeds of light from whatever the source may be. The theory of gravitational waves was first introduced to us in 1915 by theoretical physicist Albert Einstein, with the prediction that waves would be conceived from massive accelerating objects. These waves would ripple through the fabric of space and time. In 2015, 100 years later, Einstein's prediction was brought into fruition. Waves were detected from researchers as a result of a collision of two black holes. This so-called happenstance occurred again in 2017, in the event where two neutron stars collided. The gravitational waves that were endured in August are being theorized by scientists as the aftermath caused by a collision that actually took place 1 billion years ago. In the circumstance that this event is confirmed, it will mark the beginning of a new era of astrophysical studies, with implications for how researchers understand Einstein's general theory of relativity, the deaths of stars, and the behavior of extreme matter. Researchers have a sense of cultivated confidence that this collision between a black hole and a neutron star is not an anomaly. Although there is still so much more to outer space than what we have covered today, it gives us a greater appreciation and a yearn to learn more about our infinite universe. Ton 618 black hole. Located around 10 billion light-years away from us here on Earth lies Ton 618 Quasar, and at the centre of that is possibly one of the most massive supermassive black holes in existence. First noted during a survey of stars that ended up being mainly white dwarfs in 1957, the Ton 618 Quasar wasn't officially recognised until 1963, when quasars themselves were first recognised as an occurrence of the universe. It was then in 1970, during a radio survey in Italy, that there was in fact a radio emission detected from the Ton 618 Quasar. Known as very luminous, Ton 618 Quasar was identified as very distant because of its redshift, but still visible, therefore being known as very luminous because this could still be observed from Earth despite it being 10 billion light-years away. The Ton 618 Quasar is very luminous, and the black hole swirling at its centre is estimated to be an astronomical 66 billion times more massive than that of our own Sun. It's no surprise that because of this, the Ton 618 supermassive black hole is one of, if not the most massive black hole that we currently know of. What's mostly impressive about the TON 618 supermassive black hole is its mass. It's truly incomprehensible by us here on Earth because of how we would be comparing it to our own Sun. To us, our Sun is gigantic and massive, its true size completely dwarfing Earth. So to then try and picture something 66 billion times the Sun's mass is borderline impossible. Blueberries on Mars. In 2004, NASA sent its Opportunity rover to Mars in order to explore more of its surface, hoping to learn about its composition and more information regarding the history of Mars. After landing on Mars, the rover made an interesting discovery: tiny dark blue spheres that appeared to resemble blueberries. The land covered in these spherical small pebbles were termed as blueberries by scientists, because they appeared to look incredibly similar to the fruit. There were several of these blueberries, all located into one general area, which scientists found to be very curious. The blueberries were measured to be very small, only being up to 6.2 millimeters in diameter. The scientists on the Mars team were baffled because nothing like the blueberries had ever been discovered before, and it was bizarre that only this specific area contained them. Scientists were aware that the region of Mars where the blueberries were found contained a lot of hematite, or iron oxide. Scientists believe that the blueberries were formed by liquid water moving through rocks over time, water heavily infused with iron oxide. This insight is extremely foundational. First of all, it suggests that flowing water was once present on Mars. For spheres of this kind, flowing water had to be involved, specifically over a long period of time. This hints to the suggestion that Mars is a highly complex terrain, and that ancient Mars may have appeared much differently than the Mars we currently know. It remains a mystery how these blueberries fully formed, and what was involved in their creation. While scientists are sure that iron oxide and mineral-infused water was involved, they remain unsure of just what it took for these little blueberries to form. Some theories suggest perhaps they are pieces of meteorite that have been shaped over time. Unfortunately, more sophisticated technology is required in order to fully understand what is going on behind the chemistry of the blueberries. Nothing like this exists on Earth, so scientists are extremely limited in their access to learning more about the Blueberries. It is difficult to fully know what they are made of and how exactly so many of them came into being in the same area at once. The technology required to learn more about these Blueberries is currently being designated to learning more big-picture information about Mars. However, it is possible that more may be discovered about the Blueberries in the future. One thing is for sure, the discovery of the Blueberries tells us that we have much more to learn about Mars. China's spacecraft sends Mars footage for the first time. Breaking news within the early days of 2020 comes from the latest space exploration mission conducted by the China National Space Administration. The 5th of February 2021 saw the release of images and video footage of the surface of Mars captured by China's Mars probe named Tianwen-1. This video footage gives us a closer insight than has ever been possible before, providing a view of Mars's surface. Tianwen-1 entered the red planet's orbit on the 10th of February 2021 and captured a clip of the surface of Mars moving in and out of view against the dark sky. The remarkable video footage provided by this aspirational and resoundingly successful mission shows us white craters, according to news reports. The equipment used for this fantastic space exploration quest, Tianwen-1, features a Mars orbiter, lander and solar-powered rover and weighs a staggering 5 tons. This impressive technology set out from China in the July of 2020, having only recently completed its journey to the red planet, making it to its intended destination in February this year. This progress in space exploration presents a momentous step forwards in the Beijing space program, aiming to compete with the US advancements of NASA. Could Tianwen-1, whose name translates to Questions to Heaven, present a turning point for exponential growth in the China National Space Administration? Current predictions and growth markets suggest that by 2022, there could be a space station fully equipped with a crew established by the China National Space Administration. Adding further heat to the US-China space competition is the estimated landing of the US opposing mission in May later this year. Increasing the close quarters in this space discovery again is that the first ever United Arab Emirates interplanetary mission accomplished this same feat. Later, within the same week, the United Arab Emirate Hope probe entered Mars's orbit too. Such close competition certainly introduces new perspectives and even more levels of success to the Beijing space mission. The next steps from Chinese astrophysicists in exploring Mars is the implementation of the rover Utopia, due to land on Mars in May later this year. This is due to orbit for 1 year on Mars, equivalent to 687 days on Earth. Whilst Mars has long proved to be a problem and a point of mystery in discovery and space research, we have already gained a wealth of new knowledge from this new video footage, including geological observations from the Schiaparelli crater and the Valles Manieres canyons. Earth Minimoon 2020 SO is actually a rocket booster. Leading up to September 2020, there was news that Earth could get a new mini-moon. A mini-moon is a space rock that briefly gets pulled into Earth's orbit by gravity, but exits after a certain amount of time. Around this time, NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies was noticing that the orbit of the unidentified object was extremely similar to Earth's, namely that it was practically circular and on the same plane. Not only that, it was moving significantly more slowly than a space rock usually does. This, along with some of its other features, made it incredibly unique and caused some researchers to speculate that it might not be an asteroid at all, but a rocket booster instead. Specifically, one that we ourselves launched in the earliest days of space exploration. At the time, the object was referred to as 2020 SO. If it was a booster, it was launched in late 1966. This would mean it was likely a product of NASA or the Soviet Union, who were in the space race at the time. Around early December, it was finally confirmed that the object was a rocket booster that belonged to NASA's Surveyor 2. While this technically disqualifies it from being a mini-moon, It is interesting to note that this hunk of space junk survived when the lander itself didn't, crashing on the surface of the Moon in 1966. On December 1st, 2020, it passed very closely to our planet at just 0.13 lunar distances, and then again on February 2nd, 2021, at just 0.58 lunar distances. As of March 2021, the object will break free of Earth's gravitational pull and orbit the Sun instead. These days we build rockets to be reusable and land back on Earth on ships at sea. But believe it or not, there are quite a few rockets from that time period that were lost. Because of its hollowness, pressure created by the solar radiation pushed it off course and changed its trajectory. It turns out that it has actually passed Earth a few times, completely unnoticed. But for now, it's time to wave goodbye to the rocket booster. Until next time. There may be 300 million habitable planets in our galaxy. Late in 2020, NASA claimed that recent evidence and calculations suggest that our galaxy holds at least 300 million planets that could potentially harbour life, with the closest being 20 light-years away from Earth. A team of researchers used old observational data from the Kepler telescope, which scanned the Milky Way to find habitable worlds. From that data, the scientists found that about 50% of the Sun-like stars throughout our galaxy system have planets with environments and sizes that might be capable of holding liquid water. 4 of these planets are within 30 light-years from Earth. They calculate that as low as 7% of these stars would have habitable planets, which leads to their 300 million figure estimates. The experts say that it could even be as high as 75% chance, which would then reach up to 3 billion planets. NASA's Kepler Space Telescope operated for 9 years as it searched space for planets that orbit other stars. Its mission was only supposed to last 3 years, but it managed to conserve fuel so well that it stretched 3 gallons into 9 years of orbit. It confirmed about 2,662 planets in our galaxy and proved there were more planets than stars in it. It gathered so much data that researchers had to use a computer algorithm to try and sort through it all. The algorithm still made mistakes and identified many false positives, so teams are currently going through the observations by hand to check whether any planet was missed or incorrectly identified. The scientists narrowed their search to planets that were of similar size or at least half that of Earth. There are many factors that result in a planet being habitable, but overall it needs to be rocky. Any planets larger than Earth are usually gaseous. They also looked for stars that resembled our Sun in age and temperature and data from ESA's Gaia telescope to review the energy output of these individual stars. This data can inform them whether the star emits too much radiation or not enough energy to sustain life. They can then observe whether water is able to survive in liquid form on these planets. With Gaia's details on the stars within the galaxy cross-referencing Kepler's data, researchers plan to determine which stars and planets have an atmosphere that supports habitability. The Skull Asteroid, TB145. In 2015, on Halloween no less, an ominous space rock flew past our planet. The hunk of mass was thought to be a lifeless comet which had lost all of its vaporous properties, such as water due to countless orbits around the Sun. Astronomers were taken aback by the appearance of the asteroid as it looks hauntingly similar to a cosmically sized human skull. The 2015 flyby cut it pretty close by space standards. It passed with only 1.27 lunar distances between. The comet passed again in 2018 but kept more of a distance. Because the comet is extinct, it has no tail. It is relatively small, all things considered, clocking in at approximately 2,047 feet or 625 meters. Vishnu Reddy, a scientist at the Planetary Science Institute in Tucson, Arizona, had this to say about it, according to NASA's JPL site. We found that the object reflects about 6% of the light it receives from the Sun. That is similar to fresh asphalt, and while here on Earth we think that is pretty dark, it is brighter than a typical comet, which reflects only 3 to 5% of the light. That suggests it could be cometary in origin, but as there is no comet evident, the conclusion is it is a lifeless comet. It is indeed, Mr. Eddy. While it is projected to pass Venus and Mercury several times in the next few years, it is not scheduled to pass by Earth again until 2082. It should be noted that the eerie appearance of the beaming skull is only visible from certain angles, so for anyone thinking that this could be a threat or perhaps a greeting from intelligent life, it's more likely that it is our own narcissistic biases getting the better of us. The Vela Incident. The Vela satellite is located near the Prince Edward Islands in the Indian Ocean. It was constructed as a reaction to the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, which ensured that nuclear reactors or explosions could not be tested anywhere due to the deadly and detrimental effects of nuclear energy. The Vela satellite is able to detect nuclear explosions and send signals to intelligence agencies to warn them of the presence of dangerous and illegal nuclear energy. The Vela satellite is equipped with technology that can detect X-rays, neutrons and gamma rays by using bang meter sensors. It is an extremely advanced piece of technology and essential for both human and environmental safety. On September 22, 1979, the Vela satellite detected the infamous double flash indicating that a nuclear explosion had occurred. This detection on the satellite is now commonly known as the South Atlantic Flash. The flash lit up the sky not only once, but twice and was remarked as an incredible natural event. However, the true cause of the double flash remains a mystery. The United States and other countries alike predicted that the Vela satellite flash might have occurred due to natural phenomenon such as a meteor crash or lightning strike. To investigate this further, meteorological technology was introduced into study but was unable to detect whether nature was responsible for this. This technology was unable to prove the exact cause for the detonation. However, it did show that a wind had occurred over the southern Indian Ocean that might have carried nuclear explosive radiation or chemicals to certain parts of Australia. After an investigation from the United States Department of Defense within the Indian Ocean and surrounding countries, they predicted that it is possible that a nuclear test had occurred within the region of South Africa or Israel, but there was not enough evidence to conclude that a nuclear threat was present. There are several conspiracies as to why the Vela satellite detected a nuclear explosion. Investigators believe that the United States might be covering up the reality that Israel and South Africa might have access to nuclear power and that they might be working together to create nuclear weapons. These same investigators claim to have evidence that the United States Department of Defense came across conclusive evidence that a nuclear explosion from these regions really did occur, but that they chose to ignore it, to not draw attention to their international conflicts with the region. Recognizing that Israel and South Africa might share in nuclear power is a dangerous idea for the United States. There are certain ulterior motives for the United States to disguise this information from the general public. However, upon further investigation into South Africa's nuclear power industry, officials believe that the South African government could not have made such a powerful nuclear explosive within the time frame that it went off because their access to nuclear power at the time was limited. South Africa was also a part of the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. Because of this, they allowed foreign parties to view their classified documents revealing the kind of nuclear access they had. Because South Africa seems clean on its own, it gives precedent to the possibility that they collaborated with Israel to test this nuclear explosive. The United States has yet to confirm or deny this possibility. Holm 15A Black Hole. Whilst it may not be the most massive of black holes, the Holm 15A black hole has a very interesting backstory and is by no means a small black hole. It's essentially the second most massive black hole in the entire universe. Whilst observing the Abell 85 cluster, the Max Planck Institute discovered something truly incredible. The Abell 85 cluster is a collection of around 500 galaxies, but what we're interested in is what lies at the very center of this cluster of galaxies, the Holm 15A galaxy. Early calculations from scientists indicated that the center of the Holm 15A was much more dimmer than it perhaps should have been when taking into account the astronomical mass of the stars that are located within the galaxy. All of this indicated that there was something different about Holm 15A's center. Well, it turned out to be a black hole, but not just any black hole. After attempting to measure the mass of said black hole, the scientists discovered the estimates were much larger than first thought, and in fact, this black hole, now dubbed an ultramassive black hole, has a mass of around 40 billion times that of our Sun. That is a staggering number, and there's no real way to comprehend something of that scale. However, it is fascinating nonetheless. You might be wondering how something as massive as this ultramassive black hole could even exist within a galaxy, given the size of our own. Well, Holm 15A is a giant galaxy known as an elliptical galaxy. An elliptical galaxy is formed when a spiral galaxy, such as our own, the Milky Way, merges within another spiral galaxy. It goes further though, as this newly formed elliptical galaxy can then merge with another elliptical galaxy, creating an even bigger galaxy. When these galaxies merge together, the black holes in their centers can also merge, and exactly like the galaxies themselves, create an even larger black hole. When these black holes collide and get larger, it can push stars away, forming the darker center. This is how scientists discovered the Holm 15A black hole. Whilst the Holm 15A black hole is the most massive in the nearby universe, being only 700 million light-years away from us, the previous entry on this list actually trumps the Holm 15A ultramassive black hole. The Ton 618 Quasar ultramassive black hole is more massive, but is located 10 billion light-years away, so cannot be considered to reside in the nearby universe. High schoolers helped discover 4 new alien planets. 2 Massachusetts high schoolers, 16-year-old Kartik Pingley and 18-year-old Jasmine Wright, have helped to discover 4 brand new alien planets. 2021 is already showing incredible promise for being a great year in space exploration. The 2 young adults were in a program called the Student Research Mentoring Program at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which links up high school students with scientists for annually based projects. SRMP Director Clara Souza Silva, a cosmochemist at MIT, said the following in a statement. By the end of the program, the students can say they've done active, state-of-the-art research in astrophysics. Pingley and Wright worked with Tansu Daylan, a researcher at MIT's Institute for Astrophysics and Space Research. He is also the lead author of the paper that the 2 high schoolers contributed to. They made the discovery by scrutinizing observations of the Sun-like star HD 108236 made by TESS. TESS stands for NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite. TESS hunts for alien worlds using the transit method, meaning that the satellite watches for tiny dips in a star's brightness when a planet crosses or transits across its face. Alien planets are not meant to mean planets with alien life on them. These planets are also known as exoplanets, and they are a newer development within the scientific sphere. An exoplanet is a planet that orbits a star other than our Sun. Astronomers have now confirmed over 4,000 exoplanets, but the first one was acknowledged only in 1992. Previously, the orbit of planets around other stars had only been presumed. Space.com reports the statement that, "I was very excited and very shocked," Wright said in the same statement. "We knew this was the goal of Daylan's research, but to actually find a multiplanetary system and be part of the discovering team was really cool." They also share that 3 of the 4 newfound worlds are gaseous planets slightly smaller than Neptune. The 4th is a super-Earth, a rocky planet a bit larger than our own, the researchers said. All 4 exoplanets lie very close to HD 108236. Their orbital periods range from just under 4 Earth days to 19.5 Earth days. In an interview, Daylan said that our species has long been contemplating planets beyond our solar system, and with multiplanetary systems, you're kind of hitting the jackpot, he said in the same statement. The planets originated from the same disk of matter around the same star, but they ended up being different planets with different atmospheres and different climates due to their different orbits. So we would like to understand the fundamental processes of planet formation and evolution using this planetary system. It is pretty incredible how quickly we have reached these kinds of discoveries. Evidence of water on Mars. The idea of water on Mars has been present in science for many years. It is now well known that Mars is considered a mostly dry planet, with limited evidence of moisture. However, new information shows that ancient waters once flowed over the surface of the red planet. As we mentioned earlier, the presence of the Blueberries also lends itself to the idea that running water was present on Mars. The first major hint suggesting that Mars was covered in water is through the craters formed on the face of the planet. Scientists from the Netherlands assert that the only thing capable of forming the kind of massive craters discovered would have been large amounts of water, specifically water that was deep and remained in one place for a long time. Alongside these craters are various channels formed in the surface of Mars, which suggests that running water existed and created these pathways. These channels are indented, which tells us that this running water existed for a long period of time. This confirms that once Mars was home to many lakes, rivers, and perhaps also larger bodies of water like oceans. The soil found on Mars has been found to have hydrogen in it. This has been attributed to the presence of water molecules in the soil as well. This could indicate that water may still exist beneath the surface of Mars. NASA has found rocks that look like concrete slabs built from this soil. The rock has eroded on one side. The other is completely smooth. Scientists affirm that water, specifically running water, is responsible. Another important piece of evidence that Mars contained water is the ice now present. Various rovers have discovered ice and glaciers. The temperatures on Mars now are far too low to support liquid water. There are also minerals and rocks that have formed under the ice that imply that liquid water was once part of the red planet. In 2018, a subglacial lake was discovered. It extends about 20 kilometers, and it is considered to be the first known stable body of liquid water on Mars. This provides important insight into what Mars once was, and it also allows scientists to better assess whether Mars could or ever did support life. Throughout these studies, scientists are very positive that running water once existed on Mars in high volumes. The Curiosity rover was sent to Mars to discover whether flowing water ever existed on the planet, and it seems that this has been confirmed. This shapes everything we know and continue to learn about Mars, as we discover what life may have looked like when water was running on this planet. While some scientists believe that the running water only existed for a short amount of time on Mars, it seems that the combination of studies and evidence suggest that it existed much longer than previously believed. This suggests that there may have been enough water present for a long enough period of time that Mars could have been considered habitable. The evidence of running water opens new questions about whether there was plant or animal life once on Mars and how long ago this may have been. Scientists argue that the evidence of water on Mars is the first true evidence of a possible habitable environment. Water is essential to all life as we know it, so the idea that Mars once contained this necessity for life is incredible. Dr. Hawking warned us about alien contact. An age-old question that has played on the minds of scientists for centuries is, are we alone in the universe? Whilst it is true that even the least scientific-minded of us would love to know what other life, if any, there is in the universe, Hawking has given us warnings as to the possible consequences of making ourselves known to other life forms, despite us attempting to reveal our location for decades now. Largely, Hawking wants us to gain some perspective as to our relevance. If a civilization billions of years more advanced than us found our societies, then we could be as meaningful to them as bacteria and microorganisms are to us. Their ability to harm us, dismiss us, or purge us of our resources could be a realistic threat that Hawking advised we should keep in mind. For years, in attempting to make contact with other potential civilizations, we have sent signals and messages trying to find other life forms and awaited potential signals from elsewhere. Under Hawking's advice and the Breakthrough Listen project, a shift has been undergone, where scientists are looking for foreign life form signals as opposed to sending out our own. The Breakthrough Listen project, funded by Yuri Milner, is a method of attempting to find intelligent alien life. The procedure is scanning the stars closest to the Earth for radio signals. Some movements and interactions that have warranted further investigation include Tabby's star, due to its dimming and brightening. While one explanation for this may be an advanced civilization, it is perhaps more plausible to assume a comet swarm is the cause of the apparent flickering of the star. The 2016 documentary, Stephen Hawking's Favourite Places, sees Hawking explain and explore his favourite places in the universe, in which he speaks about Gliese 832c, a planet 16 light-years away, and how this would be a prime place for the Breakthrough Listen project to scan. Hawking does suggest that even if we do receive signals or messages from other life forms, it may be in our best interest to avoid responding at all. Even though Hawking has played a significant role and had a key contribution to the mission to attempt to find extraterrestrial life, he is a large critic of the work. We have to ask the question that if we were to find other life forms, what would we do? Would humans respect and leave peace, or attempt to colonize and invade? How can we anticipate a positive reaction to others finding human life? The advancement of modern technology and our ever-growing scientific knowledge truly is remarkable, and a feat that we should marvel at. Scientists that help us in our discoveries are a testament to all that the human race can achieve. However, we have to heed the warnings great minds give us and remember that fantasizing about the creations we can engineer and knowledge we can gain does not eliminate the danger that these discoveries present. Will the human race form a world government? Will we find alien life? Would we communicate if we do? The possibilities of what science can bring us in the future are near limitless, but how far should we push the boundaries? Exoplanets located in TRAPPIST-1. Discovered within the TRAPPIST-1 system that made headlines from all around the world, TRAPPIST-1d was one of the many exoplanets found orbiting a star very similar in heat and size to our own Sun that led many research scientists to believe that many of the planets orbiting around the Sun to be Earth-like habitable planets and ideal for future colonization of a solar system. The most exciting prospect of this discovery was not only the planets, however, but rather the distance the system is from our own solar system, being only a mere 39.6 light-years away from us, making it an interstellar neighbour with a much easier point of access. In fact, previous efforts in developments of space technologies such as that of the Orion nuclear-powered spacecraft could see the journey to the TRAPPIST-1 system met in as little as one generation of passengers and accomplished in a short 60 years. This very well means that efforts could be started right now to begin interstellar colonization with current space technologies without any additional stress of developments already being performed. The TRAPPIST-1d planet in orbit around the Sun-like star of the TRAPPIST system also appears to be cooler than that of our own Earth and far richer in composition of precious metals, a rocky surface, a low gravity for easy takeoff, and an atmosphere filled with dense water vapor for colonization efforts. However, given the planet's size, mass, and density, it is theorized to have a weak electromagnetic field which would not help to shield colonization efforts from damaging cosmic radiation, similarly seen on our neighboring planet Mars. But even if the planet turns out to be incompatible with future colonization efforts once the passengers arrive at their destination, it can easily be cannibalized for resources to build megastructure bases capable of supporting human life and assist in the efforts of terraforming and colonizing the other neighboring planets nearby. The closest neighbor to the TRAPPIST-1d planet, TRAPPIST-1c, is seen as the best candidate for future human colonization efforts that require next to no additional research developments in the realm of colonization. The short distance of the interstellar neighbor, along with all the raw resources that can be gathered by the neighboring planet, is only the first bullet point as to why TRAPPIST-1c is a prime candidate for colonization. Back in 2016, researchers found that the planet has a temperature that is very similar to Earth, with a maximum surface temperature of 140 degrees Fahrenheit, a temperature similarly seen in areas on Earth such as Death Valley. Additionally, TRAPPIST-1c has a gravitational force that is 97% equal to that of Earth's gravitational forces, making it habitable for long-term endeavors without risk to the health and wellness of colonizers, as well as a mass large enough to support a strong electromagnetic field that can shield colonizers from deadly cosmic radiation. This makes it a prime environment worthy of colonization efforts, as the size, atmosphere, electromagnetic field, and mass of the planet seem to be an almost perfect mirroring of our very own planet. Recent research also believes the planet to have a rich atmosphere of water vapor that could potentially see the planet slightly cooled enough to have surface temperatures similar to that of Earth. Starless exoplanets may orbit black holes. Exoplanets are, put simply, just planets that don't orbit our Sun. Recent studies have found, though, that some exoplanets, rather than orbit a star, are orbiting supermassive black holes. This is also thought to be quite common across the universe, as evidence suggests that at the center of a galaxy, the supermassive black hole can pull planets into its orbit. What's more is that it doesn't stop there. Theories suggest that these planets can also be formed around these black holes. Whilst it's true that black holes are never ending in the pursuit to consume everything around it, they can also form a ring around themselves. These rings are made of various gases and dust, but form anywhere up to 30 light-years away from the supermassive black hole itself. It is theorized that planets can be formed when a star forms. The cloud of gas and dust from around the star collapses and forms disks. These disks are then pulled together and merged by gravity. As you can probably put together, this new research suggests that the clouds formed around a supermassive black hole can create these disks and potentially, in turn, planets. These planets created around the black holes would be around 10 times the mass of the Earth and could be giant ice or rock planets. Also, because these planets would be formed light years away from the black hole, that there wouldn't be any strange happenings on these planets caused by the extreme gravity from the black hole. The scientists carrying out this research at the University of Kagoshima in Japan also estimate that tens of thousands of these planets could be orbiting the supermassive black holes in the centers of galaxies, and even go as far as to say this could be happening in our own galaxy too. 2020 CD3. An object known as 2020 CD3 was already acting as Earth's second moon for a time being. In fact, the moon had been orbiting Earth for at least a year when astronomers finally identified it in February 2020. To be fair, it was pretty hard to miss, as the space rock really is the miniest of mini-moons. It is only about 3 feet, or a little under a meter wide. Unfortunately, by early March 2020, the moon was flung out of our gravitational pull and began to orbit the sun instead. We waved goodbye to our little moon earlier than expected, as it was originally projected to leave in April of that same year. While 2020 CD3 had been orbiting for at least a year, it is possible that it actually had been in revolution for up to 3 years before we noticed it. 2020 CD3 now orbits the Sun every 379 days. Astronomers are unsure if the space rock is a miniature asteroid or perhaps a piece of our moon that was broken off. While it was classified as a near-Earth object, it was not seen as a potentially hazardous object, as simulations never indicated any chance of collision. Quite frankly, this object was always too small to be a threat regardless. Even if it did collide with the Earth, it would have been broken up in the atmosphere before touching ground. In March 2044, our former mini-moon will be close to Earth again, but not quite close enough to be pulled back into the orbit. The next time that it is likely that the space rock re-enters our orbit is not for a few thousand years. The reason Earth has trouble keeping a mini-moon is because the gravitational pull from other elements of our solar system, like the moon and the sun, are strong enough to make the circuits of these rocks unstable. But who knows? another chunk of astro rock might be out there waiting to be our next mini-moon. So whether these objects simply fly by or stay with us for a longer period of time, every interaction gets us excited about what is out there in the great expanse that is space. While we can't always trace these objects or predict what they will do and where they will go, the mysteries of space will continue to fascinate us for eons to come. Who knows when the next compelling discovery will come flying our way? The Great Attractor. On planet Earth, gravitational force is inevitable as everything that goes up comes down eventually. The Great Attractor, just as the name suggests, attracts galaxies to itself just like the way a magnet does to metal. It operates as a gravitational anomaly. The Great Attractor is a gravitational abnormality in intergalactic space and the apparent central gravitational point of the Laniakea supercluster. When observed, the Great Attractor is difficult to be envisioned, as it is inconveniently obscured by large clusters of galaxies in our Milky Way's galactic plane. A lot of astronomers have been curious if planet Earth is safe with the discovery of the existence of the Great Attractor by NASA. The Great Attractor was explored and discovered by NASA to have been located on the border of Triangulum Australe and Norma. This field covers part of the Norma cluster as well as a dense area of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. The Norma cluster is the closest massive galaxy cluster to the Milky Way and lies about 220 million light-years away. The Great Attractor was recorded by astronomers to be an enormous concentration of masses and occupies a region of space which dominates our region of the universe. One of the distinguished characteristics of the Great Attractor also is that the gravitational abnormality is observable by its effects on the motion of galaxies and their associated clusters over a region of hundreds of millions of light-years across, its visibility inconvenient to observe at optical wavelengths. A whole range of tactics need to be in place for observation, such as infrared or radio observations, but the region just behind the centre of the Milky Way, where visibility is obscured, remains yet a complete mystery to astronomers. Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system. Earth may be unique in many ways, but one thing it shares in common with the other planets is volcanoes. Space volcanoes operate almost exactly like the ones on Earth, except that they have the potential to get bigger. Much bigger. That brings us to Olympus Mons. Olympus Mons is a massive shield volcano on the planet Mars. It is over 21 kilometers tall. To put that into perspective, it is about 2.5 times the height of Mount Everest. It's so tall that it actually goes outside of Mars's atmosphere. It is considered the tallest volcano to be discovered in the solar system. Olympus Mons covers an area roughly the size of Italy, which is a massive surface area for a volcano. Because the tectonic plates on Mars do not shift as much as they do on Earth, Olympus Mons has been able to acquire a massive size. The shifting of the tectonic plates greatly changes how things like volcanoes form because it disrupts the matter required to settle and shape the volcano. This has also allowed Olympus Mons to discharge lava to enormous heights continuously without being disturbed. So, how did a volcano of this size even come to be? Scientists predict that Olympus Mons came from many lava flows, pouring onto the same site over time. This allows lava to remain in the same spot for longer periods of time, which in turn allows more volcanic crust to form. Eventually, a volcano arises around these lava flows and continues to grow as more lava spews. This means that for a few billion years, there has been a steady flow of lava in one spot on Mars. This has never been able to happen on Earth, which means that no volcano like Olympus Mons has ever been able to form on Earth. Even though it has taken billions of years to form this volcano, it is actually still considered relatively young. Because of this, Olympus Mons could still be active. The last time this volcano erupted is predicted to have been anywhere from 20 to 200 million years ago, which is around the time that dinosaurs roamed on Earth. It is unlikely to erupt again, but some scientists predict that it is still a highly plausible possibility, which could have extreme effects on us, considering the size of the volcano. There haven't been any rovers to make the journey onto this volcano. This is for many reasons, in part because it is a highly complex terrain. It is incredibly dusty, which makes gathering accurate samples extremely difficult. It also has high elevations, which makes any kind of parachute landing impossible, because there is not enough room to actually make the landing. Unfortunately, this means that we will not learn much more about Olympus Mons until there is a breakthrough in technology. Our intergalactic red planet neighbour continues to be a place of exploration and research. These 3 Mars discoveries show that the Mars we know today is nothing like it once was. The mysterious radio signals from the M82 galaxy. For 10 years now, astronomers have been picking up mysterious radio signals from the M82 galaxy. Located about 12 million light-years away, the Messier 82 is a starburst galaxy located in the Ursa Major constellation. This galaxy is 5 times more luminous than our Milky Way galaxy, and its centre is 100 times more luminous than our galaxy's centre. Receiving a radio signal from such a distant galaxy is quite mind-blowing. It opens up all kinds of possibilities. Researchers do not know anything about the object that is making these signals. The first signal from the M82 galaxy was received by the Parkes Radio Telescope in Australia. Up until now, more than 20 signals have been discovered. As you would expect, this is one of the hottest topics in astronomy today. Some scientists have given the theory that these signals are coming from the high-energy pulsars that are being consumed by a black hole in the M82 galaxy. Another theory points towards the possibility of massive cosmic explosions. And then there is always a possibility, as per our own understanding, that an alien race might just be trying to contact us. The discovery of these mysterious radio signals from the M82 galaxy has given scientists a new hope about the possibility of an alien civilization. At the same time, it has also opened up a whole new mystery to be solved by researchers. Will we be able to see this mystery unfold during our lifetime? Only time will tell. The universe is expanding faster than we thought. Whilst we may not be able to feel, see, or really understand it, the universe is constantly expanding. This, however, is not in the normal sense of the word. We are located within our galaxy, the Milky Way. However, the galaxies outside of ours are moving away from us, and the galaxies that are the farthest away are moving away from us faster. If you were to be in a different galaxy, for example, this would be the same. All galaxies outside of that galaxy would be moving away from it, even our own. They are not moving in the conventional sense of the word because they're moving with space rather than passing through. Whilst difficult to understand, the universe itself has no centre, and everything within it is actually moving away from everything else. A famous analogy coined to explain this expansion is thinking of the universe as a loaf of raisin bread dough. As it is cooked, it rises and expands, and as a result, the raisins move away from one another, but they are still inside the bread. At this point, you might be asking, why isn't Earth moving away from everything else then? This is because on a local scale, such as around us, gravity keeps everything together and holds it in place. This was first discovered in 1925 by Edwin Hubble, the man the famous Hubble telescope is named after, and he proved that there was a direct relationship between the speeds of distant galaxies and their distances from Earth. This is now known as Hubble's law. The number, meaning the rate of cosmic expansion in relation to speeds of galaxies and their distance from Earth, is known as the Hubble constant. In the last couple of years, even up to this year, new evidence is suggesting that the universe is expanding much faster than initially first thought. The universe is outpacing all our expectations in its expansion, and that is very puzzling, says lead study author Adam Rees, an astronomer at Johns Hopkins University who co-won the 2011 Nobel Prize in Physics for helping discover dark energy. This new evidence suggests that measurements of the Hubble constant, mentioned earlier, using cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the early universe and the Big Bang, is actually conflicting with estimates of younger stars and even the Milky Way. This discrepancy is still apparent even after taking into account dark energy and other cosmic forces that are thought to be speeding up the universe's expansion. This has and is still disputed by other scientists and cosmologists as incorrect or incomplete data. However, fresh research from the Hubble as new as 2019 suggests this gap is actually larger than ever. It is estimated that the universe as we know it is expanding up to 9% faster than we originally thought when examining the trajectory of the universe's expansion from the Big Bang. What does this mean? Well, the discrepancy between the rate we believe the universe is expanding now and what we believed it should be from the trajectory created from the Big Bang means that scientists could be missing an essential factor in the cosmological model when measuring that would account for this discrepancy. For now, at least, what's missing is a mystery. But with all the fascinating discoveries we've talked about today, it would be no surprise if, in a couple of years from now, we were discussing a new strongest material or new type of formation on a distant planet or even a new theory of the universe. We just don't know. One thing is for sure, though, as we try and figure out this wacky, wonderful universe, is that it certainly won't be boring. Kepler-20f. Although the planet known as Kepler-20f is more than 929 light-years away from Earth, meaning that it would take more than 900 years travelling at the speed of light before humanity could even reach the planet with current theories and technologies of space travel, it is still a primate location for the establishment of future colonies and holds more similarities to Earth than Venus itself. In fact, the planet Kepler-20f is much cooler than Venus, being more than 100 degrees Fahrenheit cooler at its maximum temperature. When the planet was first discovered back in 2011, it was noticed as being a rocky planet with the same mass, radius and gravity as the planet Earth, while also supporting a rich atmosphere believing to be containing vast amounts of water vapour. Unfortunately, this water vapour caused a runaway greenhouse effect that sees the planet at an overall temperature too hot to support life. However, with a few modifications to the environment, it could very well be a much better twin than Venus without requiring the extensive needs of terraforming as our own neighbouring planet. In fact, the other celestial bodies in the region of Kepler-20f are believed to hold a vast amount of resources that could be used in mining efforts to help terraform the planet with megastructures constructed. By sending a separated human colony to the planet over many generations, the planet could potentially be a new starting ground for all of human life. China claims to be building an artificial sun. China has revealed their plans to create a nuclear fusion reactor that will reach extreme temperatures similar to those found at the sun's core. They claim that their artificial sun will be able to burn up to 360 million degrees Fahrenheit, about 12 times hotter than our sun. Nuclear fusion on the sun occurs when two hydrogen nuclei fuse together to form a heavier helium nucleus, thus releasing an immense amount of energy during the process. In order to recreate this process of nuclear fusion, China is using HL-2M tokamak, which is the largest kind of fusion reactor found today. Their device is called the Experimental Advanced Superconducting Tokamak. The name tokamak comes from a shortened version of the Russian translation for toroidal magnetic confinement. A tokamak is a ring-shaped device in which the hydrogen is heated to extreme temperatures and turns into plasma. The temperamental plasma is contained in the device through the use of magnetic fields. However, the plasma is prone to bursts and can easily damage the device. Essentially, a tokamak is a donut that's very difficult to control and has taken a long time to be used at such a large scale. Most other scientists switched from tokamaks to a more stable device called a stellarator. They say that China's tokamak is different than others due to the flexibility of its magnetic field. It provides more protection from the plasma to the reactor walls, resulting in a more stable device. China first began working on it in 2006, and it took until 2018 for the construction to near completion, and it to reach the halfway point of 180 million degrees Fahrenheit. The scientists working on it claim that it will be fully operational and reach the claimed 360 million degrees Fahrenheit by the end of 2020. So why is China creating an artificial sun? What will they use it for? Their goal is to create a stable plasma fusion reaction that can continuously maintain those extreme temperatures by itself. They want to use the power it generates as an energy source for commercial practices. If successful, their artificial sun would be a massive jump in progress towards a clean and nearly limitless energy. It would also be an immense financial profit for them. While the arc generator imitated the power of the Tesseract to provide clean, renewable energy, the experimental advanced superconducting tokamak will imitate the sun's nuclear fusion. The researchers have taken about 14 years for their tokamak to be able to reach half the expected temperature for short intervals of time before destabilizing. Although the 2020 pandemic might have slowed the project down, the researchers continue to work towards their goal of it being fully operational. China lands on the dark side of the moon. On January 3rd, 2019, at around 10:26 a.m. Beijing time, China's robot spacecraft successfully landed on the far side of our moon. The spacecraft Chang'e 4 puts China in the running for a space leader, as it is the first in history to land in the South Pole Aitken Basin, which is an area of the moon that is never visible to Earth. This dark side of the moon is unexplored territory. No one has attempted to reach it before. The moon is the Earth's only natural satellite, rotating every 27 days or so. We are actually only able to see approximately 60% of the moon's surface. The 40% of the dark side of the moon is always hidden from us. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, have spent the past 50 years collecting images of the far side of the moon through various satellites and space probes. So, although we have known for some time what the other side roughly looks like, this landing makes history and will reveal even more detailed information about the moon and space that we did not know prior. There is no direct communication link to the robotic spacecraft, so in order for the lunar images it captured to reach Earth, it has to be rerouted through another satellite that China recently launched prior to this mission. Chang'e 4 was launched on December 7th, 2018, and arrived in the moon's orbit 5 days later. It then took the rest of the month to lower itself onto the surface. Named after a Chinese goddess who supposedly lived for millennia on the moon, its mission is to explore the massive South Pole Aitken Basin. This basin is one of the largest known impact craters in our whole solar system. The distance from its tallest peaks to its very depths is nearly 15 kilometers. Mount Everest only reaches around 8.9 kilometers. Chang'e 4 will collect soil samples to analyze the structure and composition of the moon above and below its surface. What's even more amazing is that Chang'e 4 brought live plant species from Earth that it will use to plant a garden. It carries cotton, rapeseed, potato, yeast, and the small flowering plant Arabidopsis. Apart from gathering samples and data, its other mission is to attempt to grow the first plants on the moon. The China National Space Administration also explained that since there is no radio interference on the dark side, there is opportunity for spacecraft to observe the stars and nebulae using radio astronomy. Even though the moon has been explored since the 1960s, there is so much information still unknown to us. China first announced its moon landing plan in 2016. Their space program has grown exponentially since their first astronaut launching in 2003, and over time they have managed to send multiple robotic spacecrafts onto the moon, albeit on the light side. They have also launched various satellites and space stations, and even a Mars rover that they expect to land in February 2021. It's amazing how far we've come technologically. Alternative energy sources, interstellar exploration, space gardens, next up, space travel. All we need now is to clean up the junk and debris still floating in space. With the Chinese government heavily funding their space program and encouraging new developments, perhaps it will inspire some competition within the other countries to once again look up at the sky and delve back into space exploration. HAT P7b. Discovered in 2008,
HAT P7b is an extrasolar planet orbiting around a star twice the size of our Sun. HAT P7b is also known as Kepler 2b. Astronomers estimate that this planet is located about 1040 light-years away. Being located very close to its host star, this planet receives extreme heat. Astronomers have made some very strange observations about this planet. One such observation relates to the extreme light-absorbing characteristics. Astronomers have found that it is one of the darkest planets ever discovered. They have estimated its albedo to be around 0.03. Albedo is the measure of the diffuse reflection of solar radiation out of the total solar radiation received by an astronomical body. This means that this planet absorbs about 97% of the light that strikes its surface. Scientists have been studying this distant planet for many years now. In 2016, they were able to identify the weather conditions on this planet. It has been called the first ever weather report for a planet outside of our solar system. Researchers from the University of Warwick in England observed the weather patterns on HAT P7b and found that the planet had violent weather systems. The temperatures on this planet can reach as high as 2,500 degrees Celsius. Catastrophic winds blow across the planet. These winds transport the clouds from the night side of the planet to the day side. These winds have varying speeds throughout the day, and they form amazing cloud formations. Scientists believe that the clouds on HAT P7b could be made of corundum, which is a mineral found in sapphires and rubies. This has led them to believe that there is a strong possibility that some of the most precious stones found on Earth, sapphires and rubies, could be the particles of the violent winds that blow on the surface of HAT P7b. This also gives us an idea of the unending amount of wealth and resource that could be harnessed if humans were able to travel across the universe.
The Space Roar. Back in 2009, top researchers at the Goddard Space Flight Center sent a device up into space via a giant balloon known as ARCADE. ARCADE was an acronym that stood for Absolute Radiometer for Cosmology, Astrophysics, and Diffuse Emissions, which details its mission as being that of a searching device capable of picking up diffuse radiation caused by the universe's earliest stars. It was a huge surprise then that instead of picking up these weak signals, the ARCADE device captured data that scientists have described as a space roar. Although a large amount of radio waves caused via synchrotron radiation was expected by researchers at the Goddard Space Flight Center, what was recovered and analysed turned out to be radio waves 6 times the normal amount expected to be heard, as well as their origin points being from that of galaxies 2.5 million light-years away. This has led many to speculate the possibility that perhaps this enormous amount of background radio waves found in our universe could be that of extraterrestrial civilizations and their frequencies sent out into the vacuum of space. This could very well be the case, as our radio wave frequencies have been spreading out like a bubble from Earth since the first transmissions were sent a little over 100 years ago, and given the fact that these extraterrestrial civilizations could predate us by millions of years, we could be picking up the faintest signals that have reached us over a vast distance of both space and time. Scientists struggle to find any other cause for this mystery, and have left many wondering if whether or not we are truly alone in the universe, or we are merely the latest species to tune into an age-old galactic conversation. NASA discovers TIE Fighter galaxy. Not that long ago, in a galaxy that is very far away, scientists at NASA discovered something very unusual but something very interesting. A dream of every sci-fi lover. Discovered in August of 2020, NASA researchers announced that they had found a galaxy shaped like Darth Vader's TIE Fighter from the Star Wars series. The galaxy, named TXS 0128 plus 554, bears an uncanny resemblance to the personal spacecraft of the film's iconic villain. Located in the Cassiopeia constellation of space, the galaxy is located 500 million light-years away from us. The reason the galaxy has such a peculiar shape mostly comes down to what angle researchers can view the galaxy at, and it probably wouldn't look quite like a TIE Fighter if you were to view it from another angle. Still, The galaxy is an interesting find nonetheless, and scientists have actually labelled it as an active galaxy, meaning that the galaxy actually emits more light out into space than what all of its stars are capable of, some of which has captured the interest of scientists. The excess light seems to be produced by gamma rays from a supermassive black hole at the galaxy's centre. This explains the section that is thinner in the middle. The wings of the TIE fighter have an explanation too, as they are actually large clouds of gas and dust built up and heated by gravity and friction. According to communication network coverage on the Star Wars-related spotting, the TIE Fighter galaxy has a supermassive black hole at its centre and is blasting out enormous amounts of energy. This is not the first strangely shaped galaxy that scientists have spotted. As technology and measuring instruments have become better equipped at recording far-off celestial bodies, scientists have discovered a galaxy shaped like a boomerang, one shaped like a sombrero, and even one shaped like a donut. The galaxy seen from far away will be forever remembered due to its unique shape and memorable name. (486-958 Arakoth). 486-958 Arakoth is the most distant object ever explored, and is also known as 2014 MU69 by its original destination. It was discovered on the 26th of June 2014. In the Algonquian language, Arakoth means sky. New Horizons principal investigator Alan Stern claimed the name Arakoth reflects the inspiration of looking to the skies and wondering about the stars and worlds beyond our own. It is situated in the Kuiper Belt, which is relatively similar to an asteroid belt, but much larger in size. Many objects wavering within the Kuiper Belt are well preserved and frozen, similar to a time capsule, giving us an inside look on what the outer solar system was like after its initial conception. These small objects within the Kuiper Belt have been mostly unchanged for over 4 billion years. The Kuiper Belt is known as the solar system's third zone. Arakoth is also a trans-Neptunian object. Trans-Neptunian objects are dwarf or minor-sized planets in our solar system that are at a greater distance than Neptune. Arakoth checks in at 4 billion years old. It was discovered by Mark Buey, using the Hubble Space Telescope. The observation was conducted by NASA's New Horizons science team. Mark Buey announced data from Arakoth has given us an indication about the formation of planets and our cosmic origins. We believe this ancient body, composed of 2 distinct lobes that merged into one entity, may harbour answers that contribute to our understanding of the origin of life on Earth. Arakoth has a red tint that is actually more red than Pluto, making it the reddest outer solar system object discovered to date. Arakoth's amorphous shape is described by NASA as a snowman that's been partially flattened. It is 2 objects merged into one and is about 35 kilometers long, 20 kilometers wide, and 10 kilometers thick. Arakoth is the furthest object that has been explored by humans. It was identified when the probe was 6.4 billion kilometers from Earth, and it is an estimated 6.6 billion kilometers away from Earth. It takes Arakoth around 293 years to orbit the Sun once. Arakoth could give scientists answers that they have been searching decades for. There are 2 situations scientists have debated concerning planetary formation. The first scenario is hierarchical accretion, where small grains and pebbles bounce around, occasionally hitting into each other with enough force to stick, making bigger and bigger objects. Eventually, over the course of millions of years, these planets would have compiled matter from random, forceful collisions. The second scenario is cloud collapse, where certain regions of the nebula had a higher density of particles, and these clumps were drawn towards each other until they spontaneously gravitationally collapsed. Unlike the forceful nature of hierarchical accretion collisions, cloud collapse collisions were leading to the planets being born. Dr. Alan Stern, the principal investigator of the New Horizons team, said the imagery shows no signs of violence, no fractures. The 2 lobes don't look smashed together, leaving room to certify the cloud collapse theory. The discovery of Arakoth has led to a possible revolutionary breakthrough. A planetary scientist at Washington University in St. Louis explained, "It tells us some profound truths about our solar system. It's a remarkable world that's told us a remarkable story. The information exposed left the New Horizons team confused, debating if Arrokoth was more significant than the probe's first encounter with Pluto in 2015. It will be exciting to see where the discovery of 486958 Arrokoth will take us, and how it will help us understand the astonishing complexity and inner workings of outer space.
Astronomers announced the discovery of a second repeating fast radio burst. Over the years, astronomers have been baffled by a unique phenomenon that sends a transient radio pulse of length ranging from a fraction of a millisecond to a few milliseconds. It is known as a fast radio burst, or FRB. Astronomers believe that it is caused by some extremely high energy astrophysical process happening deep somewhere in the universe. The strength of an FRB has been described as 1,000 times less than the strength of a mobile phone signal that would be received from the moon. Astronomers are not sure as to what causes an FRB. In 2016, scientists made a breakthrough when they discovered the first repeating FRB. They realized that a series of bursts was coming from one single source. Now, in 2019, scientists have stumbled upon a second repeating fast radio burst. The first signal from this new source was received on August the 14th, 2019. Then, within the next couple of months, the researchers received 4 more signals from the same FRB source. According to researchers, this new FRB source that has been named FRB 180814 is located at a distance of about 1.6 billion light-years away. A detailed analysis of the first repeating fast radio burst had revealed that it was probably coming from an extremely magnetic environment, so there is a possibility that it could be coming from a neutron star or a black hole. However, when the scientists measured the polarization of a signal received from this newly discovered repeating FRB, they found it to be very low. This has led researchers to believe that not all FRBs are coming from extreme environments. With the discovery of the new repeating FRB source, researchers are now confident that they will soon be able to discover more sources of repeating fast radio bursts. The Keenan, Barger and Cowie Void. After the formation of the Big Bang, as matter and energy spread out from a singularity, it mostly spread out in a uniform way, predictable by most mathematicians and physicists educated in the matter. However, in recent years, it has come to the attention of many academics that though this might hold true for everywhere else in the known universe, this does not happen to be the case for the area around our immediate galaxy. It appears that our home galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, is at the centre of a vast desert in regards to the universe, existing in the middle of one of the largest observed voids in all of the observable universe. This void is referred to as the KBC void, after its founders and lead researchers who came across this peculiar anomaly in each of their independent studies using various methods to prove the existence of this void and the lack of matter. Given the fact that the universe will normally disperse energy in organized filaments, it seems incredibly odd that our galaxy would find itself formed in the middle of essentially nothingness. Though these findings were made back in 2013 and the research data surrounding this information is fairly recent in its discovery, this finding has been at the center of many conspiracy theory claims believing that perhaps the cause for this void comes from something artificial and not a natural anomaly of the universe. This can be further supported by the fact that the strange KBC void appears to be almost perfectly spherical in nature, almost as if our galaxy was at the center of a massively growing explosion that spread out evenly in all directions. According to Nikolai Kardashev, the Russian astrophysicist who helped to design the metric of the Kardashev scale to accurately map out the advancements of the level of technological prowess of a civilization, he believed that not only would advanced civilizations require an incredibly high output of energy requirements, but that looking for these pockets of energy or lack of energy could be clear signs of advanced extraterrestrial life and its energy requirements and usage. This could mean that the void we find ourselves to be within could be the substantial amount of evidence required to prove the energy requirements of a surrounding advanced extraterrestrial civilization.
Dr. Story Musgrave. Franklin Story Musgrave, known as Story Musgrave, was born in 1935 in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. One of 7 children, Musgrave grew up to become a physician and a NASA astronaut, despite having come from an extraordinarily dysfunctional family full of abuse and alcoholism. In 1996, he became only the second astronaut to fly on 6 space flights. A highly intelligent individual, he holds 6 academic degrees, making him the world's most formally educated astronaut. In 1998, Musgrave held the record for the oldest person in orbit at age 61. With a huge variety of interests and a highly diverse range of career experiences, Musgrave has obviously had a very interesting life. One of the most curious tales of his space career was one involving a strange sighting from his spacecraft. Musgrave has said to have seen on at least 2 of his missions something he can only describe as a snake-looking being at least 6 to 8 feet long. Looking rubbery due to internal waves, and Musgrave believes this snake follows you for long periods of time throughout space. Musgrave believes that the snake must have been white in colour in order to reflect sunlight and appeared to swim due to the velocity of the nearby spacecraft. Due to the lack of gravity in space, items like the snake are able to glide freely, in what Musgrave calls an extraordinary ballet. The only theory that Musgrave has to explain the strange object is that it may have been an uncritical rubber seal from the main engines. Interestingly, Musgrave has a strong belief in the existence of other life forms, a belief that was crystallized on his many space voyages. He says, "The more you fly in space, the more you see an incredible amount of things out there. And that sort of thing brings to you, really, a certainty that other living creatures are out there." In other interviews, he has said, "I feel that they're everywhere out there, and they're doing interstellar travel. We'll think differently about ourselves once we accept that." Now 84, it is unlikely that Musgrave will ever get a concrete explanation for his bizarre sightings while in space. However, the fact that such an intelligent and accomplished individual believes with such conviction that we are not alone in the universe is a comfort to those who adamantly believe that humans are not the only species inhabiting the universe. NASA's Parker Solar Probe discovery. The Parker Solar Probe was launched in the year 2018. Researchers have revealed that the unexplained rogue waves and high winds means scientists are negligent of something really cogent in the standard models of the Sun. NASA's Parker Solar Probe maneuvered closer to the Sun than any previous mission, though the Sun is in the center of the solar system and its radiation has birthed the existence of Earth. It is one of the most undiscovered items in space because of its immense heat and radiation. During these 2 encounters, Parker travelled within 15 million miles of the Sun's surface, far exceeding the 25 million mile record first set by NASA's Helios 2 mission in 1976. Parker has also acclaimed the title of the fastest human-made object in history from Helios 2, as it surfaced near the Sun at over 153,000 miles per hour. In a jaw-dropping discovery, Parker detected new phenomena within a quarter of an astronomical unit, the distance between Earth and the Sun of the solar surface. At that distance, the probe reported that the solar wind, which is a stream of charged particles emitted by the Sun, was rotating around the star at speeds far beyond what models had estimated. To everyone's big surprise, by the time it got to the closest approach, the solar wind was flowing between 35 and 50 kilometers per second around the Sun. That's something like 15 to 20 times faster than the standard solar models predict. So scientists are missing something really fundamental in the rigid standard models of the Sun, how it rotates and how the wind escapes, which is discovered to be really interesting. Parker was also struck by a series of extremely intense Alphen waves in the solar wind. Interplanetary missions have long observed far less energetic Alphen waves, which are waves that circulate through magnetized plasma from the Sun. But Parker is the first to brace the huge rogue waves near the star. It was reported that, every now and then, suddenly within seconds, the speed of the wind would leap up by about 300,000 miles an hour. Then, for seconds or hundreds of seconds, the spacecraft would sit there washed by this spur in the speed of the wind, and then, just as quickly, it goes away. These spurs are so forcible that they distort and twist the magnetic field as they pass through it. It gives one a sense of just how much energy is dissipated in these rogue waves as they go by compared to the regular Alvan waves that have been reported earlier. Though the mechanism behind these waves is still a mystery, the great force of them may help elucidate two of the most persistent mysteries about the Sun. Why is solar corona, or the atmosphere of the Sun, about 1,000 times hotter than its surface? And why does the solar wind suddenly accelerate to supersonic speeds at a certain distance from the Sun? Scientists suspect that a complex process dumps heat and energy into the solar corona. The newly detected rogue waves might be a portion of this dynamic. In initial analysis by scientists, they're carrying a great mass of energy, so they are very promising as an energy source. It cannot in any way be acclaimed that astronomers have solved this mystery, but some very surprising results have been made to paint the path to closing this mystery. Yang Liwei. Yang Liwei was the first man sent into space by China. As a result of this mission, known as Shenzhou 5, China became the third independent country to send humans into space. It was on this mission that Yang Liwei heard some unsettling sounds. He recalled that the noises sounded as if they were caused by someone knocking the body of the spaceship, which neither came from outside nor inside the spacecraft. Understandably, this caused Yang some concern. He went to look out of the spacecraft's portal, seeking a reasonable explanation for the troubling knocking sounds. However, nothing could explain the strange sounds. After safely returning to Earth, Yang set about trying to find an explanation for the sounds with the help of top scientists and space experts. Professor Goh Che-hyang, an expert in space engineering at the University of Singapore, has speculated that the knocking may have been caused by something hitting the spacecraft, such as space debris. However, no one has been able to verify this. One of his colleagues, Wei Seng So, presented a different explanation, suggesting that the strange sounds could have been a result of expansion or contraction of the spaceship, especially since the temperature of the spaceship's exterior could change considerably within orbit. Interestingly, similar knocking sounds have been heard on other Chinese space expeditions, including ones taking place in 2005 and 2008. The fact that similar sounds have been heard on other Chinese space expeditions suggests that perhaps there is an issue, common to many Chinese spacecrafts, which is responsible for the sounds. Fortunately, there have been no major incidents that posed any danger on these voyages, meaning that the strange sounds were possibly nothing for the astronauts to worry about. Many people believe that space must be totally silent due to the lack of air or water particles for sound waves to travel through. However, if accounts by other astronauts are anything to go by, hearing sounds in space is certainly not uncommon. Other examples of sounds heard in space include a strange noise heard during a test flight for the moon landing mission in 1969, after the spacecraft had been cut off from radio contact with Earth. The unearthly sounds were described as space music, and only recently has a recording of the sounds been released to the public. Theories abound as to what could have caused the strange noises heard by Yang Liwei. From logical explanations to the more left-field possibility of alien forces trying to enter Yang's spacecraft. Yang is now a major general in China's Air Force and says he has never again heard sounds similar to those which he heard in space. Ultimately, we may never know what caused these mysterious sounds. The Tunguska Event. Russia is known for being a powerhouse and being home to some of the greatest nuclear power on the planet, but this power has caused various issues for the country. One interesting case happened back in 1908. On the morning of the 30th of June 1908, a large explosion occurred near the Tunguska River. This terrifying explosion over the hardly populated region of eastern Siberia erased around 80 million trees. Whatever this explosion was ripped through the area with ease and caused a massive amount of damage. The large majority of the trees have been wiped of its branches. It's also said that around 3 people died in the event. When it comes to the reason behind this famous incident, Various theories have been put forward, the majority of which people can't seem to agree on. One of the most accepted theories is that a meteorite caused the destruction of the area. Interestingly, scientists and researchers have classified this as an impact event, even though no impact crater or objects have ever been discovered, something that's led people to look at alternative theories to explain the mysterious event. Scientists, however, have stuck to the meteorite story and say that the object that caused the damage would have been large. They suggested that the object disintegrated at around 5 to 12 miles in the sky. Back in 1908, when this incident happened, science was not at the level it is now. Due to this, researchers at the time had limited instruments. The magnitude of the event has helped modern researchers to come to a more conclusive answer for what happened here. As it took around 10 to 11 years to find out information on this incident, and because many people living in the area were religious, they concluded that the reason this event happened was because their god was not happy with them. Science has said that various studies have allowed them to come up with different estimates of the size of the meteorite, ranging from 50 to 190 meters, depending on how fast the body was traveling. Along with the size of the meteorite, other factors were also measured in order to reach a decision. Tests showed that the energy of this object would have been the same as 3 to 30 megatons of TNT. More than 100 years after the event, only a few clues remain. For such a large event, it's left behind no clue whatsoever. Interestingly, researchers have said that much larger events happened in Earth's history, but this event is considered one of the largest impact events ever recorded in the history of the Earth. Today, after more than 100 years of the event, scientists still believe there is something we are missing. One NASA scientist said the following about the event. A century later, some still debate the cause and come up with different scenarios that could have caused the explosion. But the generally agreed upon theory is that on the morning of June the 30th, 1908, a large space rock about 120 feet across entered the atmosphere of Siberia and then detonated in the sky. The moon is shrinking. Earth's moon was formed around 4.6 billion years ago, and it's always in synchronous rotation with Earth, which means that we always see the same side of the moon. The first unmanned mission to the moon was in 1959 by the Soviet lunar program, with the first manned landing being Apollo 11 in 1969. Due to its size and composition, the moon is sometimes classified as a terrestrial planet along with Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. In the summer of 1994, the moon was very extensively mapped by the Little spacecraft Clementine, and again in 1999 by Lunar Prospector. In recent years, there has been a special interest in the dark side of the moon. This popular term refers to the fact that the same physical half of the moon is always facing Earth, which in turn means that there's a dark side. Recent NASA scientists have come forward and said that they've discovered something interesting about our moon. They said that it's shrinking and shaking. They've said that their studies have shown that the inside of the moon has shriveled up and that deep cliffs can be found all over its surface. What's interesting is that this recent study suggests that the moon could still be shrinking. Researchers have also come forward and said that the moon's surface crust is brittle and that due to the moon shrinking, it's starting to break the surface. One of the senior scientists at NASA said the following about this discovery. Our analysis gives the first evidence that these faults are still active and likely producing moonquakes today as the moon continues to gradually cool and shrink. Some of these quakes can be fairly strong, around 5 on the Richter scale. The scientists have also been using high-detailed images to help the discovery of other faults. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter camera has snapped over 3,500 images, and these have helped scientists to understand what's going on the surface of the moon. Some photographs in particular have shown them that there are bright patches and scraps on certain terrains. These small details are showing the researchers that recent quakes have happened on the moon. These moonquakes can last up to an hour and have been known to send boulders rolling down cliff slopes. One researcher said that around 20 to 30% of the moonquakes were most likely generated by built-up energy from these faults,
and that they didn't think this had happened from naturally occurring space debris like asteroids. NASA scientists have said that they are keeping a close eye on this seismic shaking. This recent discovery was published in the journal Nature Geoscience.
IC1101 black hole. Located around 1 billion light-years away from us here on Earth is the Abell 2029 galaxy cluster. Within this cluster is the IC1101 supergiant elliptical galaxy. As mentioned earlier, an elliptical galaxy is the product of two spiral galaxies merging together. The IC1101 itself is actually one of the biggest galaxies in the known universe, which is a very impressive feat in itself. Not only that, the IC1101 is home to something even more interesting. An ultramassive black hole, the third largest in the observable universe to be more specific, lies in the center of IC1101. The black hole itself has not had its mass directly measured, however it's estimated to be just under the mass of Holm 15A ultramassive black hole, around 40 billion times the mass of our own Sun. Whilst this is IC1101's estimated mass, it could actually be between 40 to 100 billion times the mass of our own Sun. But as mentioned previously, IC1101 hasn't been directly measured at the time of recording, so this could potentially be the most massive once measured more accurately. The IC1101 galaxy is one of the more interesting galaxies that we know of, home to an estimated 100 to 150 trillion stars. That's again completely crazy to think of in practical terms. The supergiant elliptical galaxy of IC1101 has a huge radius of 3 million light-years. The total mass of IC1101 is 1.125 quadrillion solar masses. The IC1101 black hole, located at the center, has a mass of 70 billion solar masses. What's more mind-blowing is that because of its distance away from us here on Earth, anything we observe is more likely over 1 billion years old. It's because of this we really have no idea what's going on at the IC1101 at present. An interesting point to think about is that due to the sheer amount of stars that are located within the IC1101, there would more than likely be hundreds if not thousands of potential civilizations inhabiting this galaxy. Given the fact that the black holes we've spoken about today are so massive and incomprehensible to us, means that probability would suggest somewhere out there is more life or other civilizations. On the Kardashev scale, a scale used to determine the strength or size of a civilization, if a civilization were to occupy and control the IC1101 galaxy, then that would fall into the highest category of the scale, a scale 3. This simply states that the civilization has completely colonized the galaxy. This is compared to us on Earth. We as a civilization would fall into the lowest end of the scale, a scale 1. A 1 on the scale is simply planetary scale occupation or control, so we as the human race control the planet. Going into specific detail and discussing these truly incredible occurrences throughout the universe can almost be quite an unsettling experience. Learning about these absolutely astronomical black holes, or should we say ultramassive black holes, is fascinating more than anything. It shows just how more advanced we are getting as we progress as a civilization, and the simple fact that we can comprehend these mammoth black holes is fascinating in itself. The black holes we discussed today, TUN 618, Holm 15A, and IC1101 are universe royalty. They are, at the time of recording, the biggest black holes in the known universe. NASA finds ancient organic material, mysterious methane on Mars. NASA's own Curiosity rover has stumbled across organic material preserved within sedimentary rocks on Mars, up to 3 billion years old. Whilst many people hear organic molecules and assume this equates to life and biological sustainability, NASA has been quick to disclaim that whilst this is exciting, this is not the only possible explanation. The molecules found on Mars certainly contain carbon and hydrogen, with the likely possibility of accompanying elements such as oxygen and nitrogen yet to be found. Associate Administrator for the Science Mission Directorate at NASA headquarters, Thomas Zabukan stated, "With these new findings, Mars is telling us to stay the course and keep searching for evidence of life. Whilst we may not have concrete evidence that Mars has hosted life, we have enough material to speculate and not entirely dismiss the idea that there may once have been life on Mars, supported by the now ancient organic material." Another NASA researcher, Jen Eganbrode, explains that this organic material could simply record and document ancient life, may have even been a food source for life or even existed entirely independently of life. Most importantly, however, she stresses that this is an insightful and promising discovery regardless as to which category this finding does fall into, as it tells us new information regarding the planetary conditions and processes, all informed by the chemical compositions found. Today we can determine that Mars can no longer support life, though this discovery of organic material reminds us that in the past, Mars once had environmental conditions and a climate that could facilitate liquid water, meaning life could theoretically survive. However, this discovery does not end here. Scientists have also discovered a fluctuation in methane levels in the atmosphere of Mars, dependent upon each season. The study observed these changes to be consistent within each Mars year, over a 3-year period on Mars, equating to a 6-year-long study for the scientists here on Earth. This observation was completed by the sample analysis at Mars Suite of the Curiosity. There are multiple explanations, again with varying degrees of excitement attached, as to why the methane levels fluctuate like this. Some suggest that the chemical interaction between water and rock may have generated methane, while others retain a firm belief that we should still consider that this methane has a biological origin, suggesting Mars once hosted some kind of life.
The 2008 TC3. On October the 7th, 2008, an asteroid entered the Earth's atmosphere and exploded 37 kilometers above the Nubian Desert in Sudan. Scientists estimated that the asteroid had a diameter of 4.1 meters and weighed more than 80 tons. The asteroid disintegrated as a result of the explosion in the atmosphere, and more than 600 meteorites belonging to this asteroid were recovered by scientists. Many of these meteorites belonged to the rare type known as uralites. These uralites contain a number of different minerals, including nanodiamonds. Known as the TC3 asteroid, this was the first asteroid whose impact was predicted before entry into the Earth's atmosphere. The asteroid was discovered 19 hours before impact. It was discovered by Richard A. Kowalski, who was working at Catalina Sky Survey, a telescope in Arizona, United States. The meteor exploded 37 kilometers above the Earth's atmosphere. The energy of the explosion was measured to be equal to that of a 0.9 to 2.1 kilotons of TNT. A large fireball was created as a result of the explosion. According to media reports, the light from the explosion was so intense that it lit up the sky just like the full moon. An airliner that was traveling 1,400 kilometers away from the explosion reported seeing a very bright flash of light. After the explosion, scientists started searching for the torn-apart meteorites. 15 meteorites were discovered within the first 3 days of the explosion. After analysis, the researchers concluded that the asteroid TC3 belonged to a class of asteroids known as F-class asteroids. Researchers found amino acids on the collected meteorites, and they concluded that the source of the asteroid was most probably another planet in our own solar system. One of the pieces of the TC3 asteroid was gifted to Richard Kowalski, the scientist who discovered the asteroid before it had entered the Earth's atmosphere. According to scientists, it is not uncommon for asteroids of such a size to hit the surface of the Earth. In fact, 2 or 3 such asteroids hit Earth every year.
NASA scientists detect evidence of a parallel universe where time runs backwards. For decades, our TV screens have been riddled with science fiction shows, weaving stories of parallel universes and describing realms filled with time travel and aliens alike. Well, new research as recent as 2020 suggests that these ideas are not quite so far-fetched, as scientists describe actions of particles resembling expectations of parallel universes, where both the rules of time and physics appear to be inverted to our own. The idea of a multiverse has not always been confined to our comic books and fictional tales. It has been suggested for numerous years that there is a likelihood of a multiverse existing, and subsequent research that has been conducted for years now has taken this possibility into account. One often cited area of physics that has considered the possibility of a parallel universe is quantum mechanics, with the many worlds theory, first proposed by American physicist Hugh Everett III in 1957 whilst completing his doctoral thesis at Princeton University. This informed his relative state formulation, which has impacted the field for decades now. Whilst undeniably influential, the impact of the many worlds interpretation has not been isolated nor uncontested by any means. At the time of publication by Everett, the leading, dominating, and ultimately competing theory was the Copenhagen interpretation, a wider explanation of quantum physics, with a much broader meaning and more contradictory ideas within it. Even today, the Copenhagen interpretation dominates the discourse and discussions of quantum mechanics. Or will that change with this new 2020 discovery? An experiment aiming to detect cosmic rays appears to have discovered particles that many scientists have suggested are from a universe, world, or realm that is parallel to our own. If a universe of this nature genuinely exists, current theories suggest that its formation likely coincides with our own, being born via the Big Bang. These leading field experts used apparatus described as a giant balloon to move NASA's Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, also known as ANITA, to above Antarctica. Antarctica made for an ideal location for the employment of this technology, as the environmental factors, including dry air and a distinct lack of radio noise, left few extraneous variables to distort and corrupt the data and findings. We discovered here that Earth has a consistent, constant arrival of high-energy particles entering our atmosphere from outer space. It has been well established that low-energy particles, known as subatomic neutrinos, with a mass nearing zero, are able to pass through Earth with ease. We also believed, until now, that the particles with high energy have been unable to pass through our planet, being stopped by the solid matter of Earth itself. This new research, conflicting with established premises, has been assumed to indicate that these particles are coming up out of the Earth, emitting particles with a heavier mass, known as tau neutrinos, as detected by ANITA. The previous idea, however, had been that we were experiencing high-energy particles coming down from outer space to the Earth. So, what do scientists think this inverted trajectory means? Simply put, many physicists believe that these new, bizarre particles are travelling back in time, providing possible evidence to support the idea of a parallel universe where the time runs backwards to our own. Experimental particle physicist Peter Gorham and principal ANITA investigator explained that the only other explanation as to the odd behaviour of the tau neutrino particle is that it had somehow shifted into a new particle before passing through the Earth, and then changing back into its original state once again. Of course, many skeptics were quick to voice an opinion here. Despite this phenomenon having seemingly limited explanations, though we cannot be certain either way as to exactly what is happening with the tau neutrino particle. Will more particles arise to support the idea of a backwards parallel universe, or will this discovery simply become the future material of a sci-fi episode?
The Japan Earth Grazer 2006. Meteors are the small bodies of matter that enter the Earth's atmosphere and become incandescent due to friction. They travel at very high speeds and appear as streaks of light. While many of the meteors hit the surface of the Earth, some meteors enter the Earth's surface in such a trajectory that is almost parallel to the Earth's surface. Due to their high speed, these meteors bounce back into the upper atmosphere and re-enter space. Such meteors are known as Earth grazers. One of the most fascinating examples of an Earth grazer was observed in Japan. On March 29, 2006, the citizens in several cities of Japan witnessed a bright fireball travel across the sky. Scientists in different research facilities in Japan were able to accurately measure the characteristics of the meteor. Scientists determined that the fireball was caused by a meteor that weighed approximately 100 kilograms. It had entered the Earth's atmosphere at a height of 87 kilometers, and then it covered a distance of 1,000 kilometers in only 35 seconds before leaving the Earth's atmosphere. This was only the third Earth grazer to have been observed and measured accurately by scientists. It was widely photographed, and videos were made by ordinary people and scientists observing the Earth grazer. The event was also widely covered by the mainstream media. It was one of the most rare and fascinating space-related events to have ever been witnessed by a large number of people.
Red Square Nebula. In April 2007, NASA released images of a massive celestial object located in the constellation Serpens. This red-colored bipolar nebula is located in the same area of the sky as the star MWC 922. Scientists named it Red Square Nebula because of its color and shape. The images of the Red Square Nebula were taken using the Mount Palomar Hale telescope. This massive object is estimated to be located at a distance of 5,000 light-years from Earth. The unique nebula has fascinated scientists because of its symmetrical shape. According to Peter Tuthill, an astrophysicist at Sydney University, Red Square Nebula is one of the most symmetrical celestial objects ever imaged. Researchers are unsure about the exact composition and the origin of Red Square Nebula. However, most of the researchers believe that the massive star MWC 922, located at the center of the nebula, is responsible for its existence. According to Peter Tuthill, many stars that have a low mass, like the Sun in our solar system, get rid of their outer layers in order to produce stunning planetary nebulae. Researchers believe that this dying star is ejecting gas and dust into the surroundings, creating the nebula. It is believed to be a bipolar nebula formed as a result of the material emitting from the opposite sides of the star.
The meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs. Scientists believe that about 66 million years ago, one of the most catastrophic events in the Earth's entire history took place. Researchers have found abundant geological evidence of an asteroid hitting the surface of the Earth and causing massive destruction. However, the most conclusive evidence was discovered in 1978, when geophysicists working for an oil company discovered a massive impact crater underneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The crater is located near the town of Chicxulub, and therefore it has been named the Chicxulub crater. Subsequently, the asteroid that created the crater was also named the Chicxulub asteroid. Over the years, a number of research studies have been conducted to determine the various features of the crater and the asteroid that caused it. It is estimated that the crater is 150 kilometers in diameter and 20 kilometers in depth. The crater goes quite deep into the continental crust. Researchers believe that the Chicxulub asteroid was approximately 10 kilometers in diameter. As this massive asteroid hit the surface of the Earth, it caused a massive explosion, resulting in Earth's atmosphere being polluted by a huge amount of debris. This severely altered the Earth's climate and caused the extinction of more than 75% of species that existed on Earth, including dinosaurs. Some evidence has also hinted that a massive tsunami was also triggered as a result of the explosion. Researchers are still trying to get their heads around the climatic conditions immediately after the meteor impact. Further research is being carried out in order to better understand the mix of dust and various gases that engulfed the planet after the impact from the Chicxulub asteroid. Our Sun's twin. Our Sun lies at the heart of the solar system, and it's no secret that it's massive. Scientists have figured out that the Sun is around 110 times the diameter of the Earth. This means that over 1 million Earths could fit inside the Sun. Researchers have come forward and said that when our Sun was born 4.5 billion years ago, it had a twin. However, this twin sun was not identical. Harvard scientists have said that this was the same with every other star in our universe. It has in fact been proved that many stars do have companions. Astronomers are now focused on trying to understand whether binary and triplet star systems are born that way. Astronomers have been searching for the sun's twin. This star goes by the name Nemesis. It's even been suggested that Nemesis is the reason behind the KT extinction, one of the largest mass extinction events to happen on our planet. It's also become known as the Die of the Dinosaurs. It's been theorized that Nemesis pushed an asteroid into the orbit of Earth. A research astronomer from UC Berkeley said the following: "There probably was a Nemesis a long time ago. We have searched and tried to find out where this star resides. The system where this star would be has either broke apart or shrank." This other sun, however, would not have been near the current one. It's thought that at one point in time it could have been 800 million miles away from Earth. An idea is that this sun most likely escaped and then mixed with other stars in the Milky Way's region. As mentioned, this isn't science fiction either. Other researchers have come forward and said that this is not the first time that the idea that stars form with a companion has been suggested. A research paper is going to be featured in the Royal Astronomical Society. This will look at the origins of binary and multiple star systems. However, although this theory does have its supporters, there are those that don't believe in the Nemesis theory. Some researchers have come forward and said that after studying craters, it doesn't back up the Nemesis claim. Regardless, studies are still happening to try and prove the existence of this hypothetical star. GJ504b. In 2011, scientists made an extraordinary discovery when they discovered GJ504b, also known as Gliese 504b, a planet that is still glowing from the heat of its formation. Scientists estimate that this bright pink-coloured planet is located at a distance of about 57 light-years from Earth. This exoplanet orbits a sun-like star named 59 Virginis, located in the Virgo constellation. This star is visible in the sky during nighttime, and it can be easily seen with the naked eye. Chances are that you have already seen this star up in the sky, amongst the thousands of other visible stars. Scientists estimate that the planet GJ504b is about 4 times bigger than Jupiter, and the solar system it is located in is approximately 100 to 200 million years old. This is a remarkably young age when compared to other solar systems in the universe. Our solar system is estimated to be about 4.571 billion years old. The close observation of the newly formed GJ504b planet has given astronomers new insights into the development process of planets. Astronomers believe that this planet is still undergoing changes at a very rapid pace. According to one NASA scientist, if we could travel to this giant planet, all we would see is a world brightly glowing from the heat of its formation. GJ143b planet. Recently, in 2019, NASA announced the discovery of a Neptune-like exoplanet known as GJ143b. The planet is estimated to have a mass of 22.7 times more than that of Earth. Astronomers believe that the planet orbits very close to its host star, and it completes one orbit of this star in just 35.6 days. GJ143 orbits an orange main sequence star known as HD 21749. It is also known as GJ143. This star has only 2 planets, and GJ143b is one of them. The star is located in the Reptilium constellation and is estimated to be at a distance of 53 light-years from Earth. Astronomers believe that the exoplanet GJ143b is possibly a rocky planet. Researchers are further observing this newly discovered planet, and it would probably take a couple of years before they are able to get basic information about the terrain, atmospheric conditions, and climate,